The search for a pregnant teen ends tragically after she and the father of her child were found dead inside a car with gunshot wounds, just days after being reported missing. And now police have two persons of interest. The family of 18-year-old Savannah Soto reported the teen missing when she never showed up to the hospital where she was set to be induced for labor. At the time, police confirmed the identity of Savannah's 22-year-old boyfriend, Matthew Guerra, who owned the Kia Optima that they were found dead inside.
We believe that it is the missing woman and her boyfriend, but we can't confirm that right now officially until the medical examiner takes a look at the bodies and makes that determination as to their identity.
The day after Christmas, in a press conference after the gruesome discovery, San Antonio Police Department Chief William McManus told local reporters the investigation is still in its preliminary stage. As family members of the victims can be heard crying, authorities said at the time their cause of death was still unclear.
But what we're looking at right now is a very, very perplexing crime scene. And detectives right now are looking at this as a possible murder, but we don't know for sure.
But within days, police are sharing new information, including a devastating revelation.
It appeared that the vehicle had been located at that location for several days. The medical examiner had identified 22-year-old Matthew as one of the deceased victims in the vehicle, and he died from a gunshot wound to the head. The manner of that death is still pending. The second deceased victim has not yet been officially identified by the medical examiner. However, I think we can be confident that that second victim was Savannah.
San Antonio PD also released this surveillance video and are seeking information on two persons of interest. Police say the footage was taken from a nearby location where Savannah and Matthew's bodies were found. It captures a dark-colored pickup truck slowly pulling up to Matthew's silver Kia Optima. But what's more shocking, police say one of the persons of interest can be seen driving his car. About 15 seconds into the video, a person can be seen getting out of the pickup, walking to the door of the gray Kia to talk with the person in the driver's seat before going back into the pickup, then both vehicles drive away. Police say right now it's unclear what link the two have to Savannah and Matthew, and say they couldn't provide more details pending the investigation. Earlier, when Savannah and Matthew's bodies were discovered in the gray Kia, police believe their bodies were in Matthew's car for about 3 or 4 days. And at the time, police said it was unclear if weapons were found inside the vehicle. But just days after the tragic discovery, according to reports from local NBC affiliate News for San Antonio, they claim their sources familiar with the investigation say police did not find a weapon or even a cell phone of Savannah's boyfriend Matthew in the vehicle where they were found. And more alarming, the local news station says Matthew's body was discovered in the back seat, while Savannah's body was discovered in the front passenger seat with a child carrier on her lap. While police confirm Matthew died from a contact gunshot wound, his manner of death is still undetermined.
When we talk about the manner of death has not been determined, the manner meaning, was it a suicide or was it a murder?
So here's what else we know so far. Savannah, who was 9 months pregnant, was last seen at her apartment on December 22nd in Leon Valley, a city about 10 miles away from downtown San Antonio. Her family grew worried when she didn't show up to her doctor's appointment and reported her missing. In a Facebook post, Savannah's concerned mother wrote, quote, "I'm worried about her safety. She's with her boyfriend who is no good. Prayer for my baby girl." Authorities issued a coordinated law enforcement adult rescue alert, known in Texas as a clear alert, to help police locate the pregnant teen. Photos of Savannah on social media show what appears to be a happy mother-to-be, beaming at what appears to be her baby shower. In this photo, Savannah and her boyfriend are shown opening presents with blue decorations that seemingly confirm they were expecting a baby boy, and it was later revealed by family they plan to name the baby Fabian. In another photo, Matthew cradles the belly of his pregnant girlfriend as the two appear excited for their next step. At this time, we don't know much about Savannah's boyfriend Matthew, but his father and stepmother told a local news station the couple was anxiously awaiting for the arrival of their baby. They say on Saturday, December 23rd, when no one heard from Savannah or Matthew, Matthew's father Gabriel kicked in their apartment door in hopes of finding more answers. Matthew's father told Fox San Antonio they discovered Savannah's overnight baby bag for the hospital that she didn't take with her, throwing him into immediate panic. In light of the young couple's body being discovered, it's been reported Matthew Guerra was on probation for assaulting Savannah last year on Christmas. The charge had Matthew on probation, which was scheduled to end in June 2024, but he picked up new charges unrelated to the assault that extended his probation through February 2025. Matthew's family told local news reporters they don't believe he's responsible for the heinous crime. But was it possible there was trouble in paradise between the two? According to forensic death investigator Joseph Scott Morgan, at this time, he doesn't believe we can jump to that conclusion.
So from the beginning, I thought that, like many people, you're kind of watching the news. I watch the news every day, and I thought that this is going to be a murder-suicide. And of course, it turned out that apparently it's being looked at a bit more with a bit more magnification on the situation. So right now we're still trying to understand what the dynamics were at the scene.
With nearly 2 decades of experience as a forensic death investigator, Morgan has seen numerous crime scenes of all natures and explains, as police are exploring all avenues, there are some questions he would like to see answered.
That's the reason you have the chief say in this, that they're looking at all possibilities here, I think. Because you really have to, again, you're plumbing the depths here of just absolute depravity. You're talking about killing this young pregnant woman. Who would want to do this sort of thing? And if they cannot say definitively from a scientific perspective that this young man took the life of this young woman along with this baby, then you're going to be looking elsewhere. And that's where forensics comes in. I'm very fascinated about this case because working homicides involving motor vehicles are particularly challenging, but they can give you a lot of information. And let's just say, depending upon where the victims were positioned in the vehicle, are they in the back seat? Were they in the front seat? Were they seated side by side? Were they laying on top of one another? Is there glass blown into the cabin? Did these gunshots originate from the exterior of the car? Did they only pass through the windows? Were the windows down? Did they pass through, say, the car body itself, where you're going through the sidewalls of the car, through the doors and this sort of thing? Did they come from the rear toward the front? Was the car stopped? What position was the gear lever in the car? So you have to consider all of this. And here is one really interesting piece to this. Everybody, particularly as it applies to my line of work in forensics, that looks at us and looks at what we do, the one thing that always comes to mind is DNA, right? So if you're in this very tight, confined space, and let's say that there was a perpetrator in that vehicle with them, is there any foreign DNA in that vehicle that you would not otherwise expect to find in there? Also, is this an individual, perhaps, if this was targeted, did they walk up to the vehicle and put their hand on the exterior of the car as they began to fire? That's something that we have to consider as well, because that's not just DNA. That could be a latent print. So they're going down all of these avenues in this particular case.
While Chief McManus said in an earlier press conference they believe the bodies were in Matthew's vehicle for 3 or 4 days, that answer still begs more questions.
Why would the individuals in this community not have stopped to check the car out? And again, this begs another question here when it comes to assessment of biological findings and decompositional findings, because he's talking about 3 days. Is he saying that the car was there for 3 days? Or is he saying that they were deceased in the car for 3 days? Because that's a big difference. Because if you're saying deceased in the car for 3 days, that opens up the door that this may have taken place somewhere else and the car was essentially deposited there, as opposed to you have eyewitnesses, which is going to be very important. All the residents around this area will be asked. This canvas will go on with the police department. They'll go door to door, and they might say, hey, look, we've got this car out here. You've been going back and forth to work. It's Christmas time. Maybe you've been in the house a long time. Maybe you haven't journeyed out. Did you notice the car, one of your runs into town at some point in time, or was it there at this particular time, but wasn't there then at this other time? And that's going to play a key role in this investigation.
But what about the possibility the two were tragically targeted? With police now seeking two persons of interest, that information could soon come to light.
Is this a road rage act, where just some random stranger begins to fire into this vehicle and they happen to come to rest on the side of the road and the car is in park and the keys are either in the ignition or within the vehicle or nowhere to be found? All of those little issues come into play here. Or is this something where they were specifically targeted, where maybe they were stopped on the side of the road and somebody had been following them? Maybe they got spooked. Or were they placed there? So all of that is going to come into place. The police are going to be able to narrow this down very quickly. Are they involved with any kind of nefarious actors here? People that might work in maybe a darker world. I don't know what their background is relative to drug involvement, violence, those sorts of things, but those threads are going to be pulled upon and they're going to be explored in great detail.
The death of Savannah Soto isn't the first tragic death in her family. Savannah's 15-year-old brother Ethan Soto was shot and killed last year in 2022. Two teens were arrested for his murder shortly after. And in October, during a court hearing for one of the suspects, video captured inside the courtroom showed a massive brawl breakout between members of Savannah's family and the suspect's family. As Savannah's family faces yet another horrific tragedy, soon time will tell and reveal who was responsible.
Is there anyone out there that would have this much anger and this much hatred that they would rain down this kind of hell on this couple, and not just couple? We're talking about this young woman who is very pregnant. As a matter of fact, I think she's like a week past due. Remember, they were talking about inducing labor for her. That in and of itself rises to another level that I think many of us cannot fully appreciate, because it is absolutely horrific.
Both families separately have posted GoFundMe pages to help with funeral expenses. At this time, police say the case is still in active investigation and are investigating the crime as a capital murder. SAPD is still seeking information on two persons of interest, and anyone who may have seen or heard even the slightest information about the people in their surveillance video is asked to call San Antonio PD or remain anonymous with Crime Stoppers. Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Elizabeth Milner.